I think right now, the way cultures are playing with these ideas, the language is very flowery, it's very profound, it's very poetic, but it didn't used to be like that. Most of the books that you will find around maybe the 4th century all the way to the 15th, 16th century, they're quite dark and gloomy, they're filled with pain and agony. Those who've gone on the spiritual call, it's not like here, where you can go to Texas, go to Ayurveda center, they put some oil on your ass, and then you feel enlightened. Or Oprah Winfrey stuff. The way I see it is, before talking about the spiritual journey, let me kind of make it a bit more grounded and simplify it, just for me, not so much for you. You come from a relatively healthy background. There is your mom, there is your dad. Once in a while you witness disagreements and maybe screaming once in a while, but for the most part, very healthy relationship. They are your first GPS to life. Through them, you see what a healthy relationship looks like, what a mom looks like, what a dad looks like, or what a woman or a man look like. And then you have siblings. And you guys all compromise because there's a good wrestling match while all of you are growing up. And then remember what we talked about. Your parents are your first models. Your home, as Confucius would say, that's your garden. That garden either will grow thorns or flowers, or a mixture of both. And your parents will kind of balance things out for you. And so you get married at the age of 18, because that's the only world you know. And you go to school, you have children, you have a great marriage, everything is fine. Around the age, let's say 40, 45, your kids are out now, they're healthy, your relationship with your husband is also quite good, but you feel restless. You don't know why. And this restlessness creates a good amount of disgust about you because you have no reason to complain. You have a saint of a husband, you have great kids, your life is really, really good. You should be thankful, but in as much as you try to fake it, you can't. Something about you doesn't feel the gratitude. You feel as if you've shortchanged yourself. Why, how, who? I don't really know how these things work. But you just feel discontent, unhappy. And you try to wrestle with this stuff because your sister is married, your brother is married, there has been no divorce in your family. For the first time, there is this urge that's roaring inside you. Leave. Now, remember the fig leaf in the Garden of Eden, that whenever you get caught, shame comes about. But for you, this urge also comes with a good amount of courage. You're very blunt. At one point, you look at your husband and you say, unashamedly, I love you, I just don't want to be here anymore. You're not seeing anyone. There are no affairs. You just don't want to be in this relationship. Maybe you just want to buy a tent from REI and go to Yosemite and tent out or camp out. No one knows what the hell is going on with you, but this is no longer meaningful and valuable for you. Now, before you actually get the tent and move away, you got to talk to your parents, and that's going to be hell. You're going to look at your kids, and that's going to be hell. You're going to look at your husband, that's going to be hell. You're going to look at yourself, and you're going to ask all these questions. Why? Why am I doing this? What's happened to you? You will seek therapy. You will do drugs. You will do also crazy things to balance things out inside you, but no balance is going to come about. Now, you're going to leave behind 30, 40 years of marriage. Your parents are going to be devastated. And let's just say you're Catholic and you have a belief in God, faith in God. You're going to imagine that God is looking down and He is pissed at you. And you want to make it right with everyone and anyone, but you can't. The urge is just far too strong and far too powerful. Nietzsche had the story about the death of God. And maybe we could just use that for you, which is, it's not the death of God for you. It's the death of your life. Add to it, you have to look at yourself in the mirror. Now, you may think that buying a tent and just moving away will give you the freedom that you now want. The truth is, now you have memories. Now you see people holding hands, walking in Yosemite. You think about your husband. You think about your wife. So now that you're all alone at Yosemite, you see people holding hands, you see them walking with their kids, you're going to feel like crap. It's going to take you a long, long time to be able to have these memories come back and for you not to feel anything. You become callous. I used to play tennis about 8 hours a day for a number of years. And when you first begin, you grow blisters. And imagine blisters to be like emotional chaos you go through. when you're planning to do something traumatic because you don't know what to do. And every time something touches the palm of your hand, you scream. And then you kind of just grab a needle and you just pop them so you can go back on the court and play. But you put a Band-Aid on it. But the Band-Aid comes off and the skin falls off and all those things, okay? If you keep doing that, the last time I played tennis was 20 years ago. There are certain spots that feel like rock. Sometimes when I'm in the backyard just playing with things, I put like nails in it just to see, and I don't feel anything. And it's going to take you a long time for you to understand what you have done to yourself, what you have done to other people, where you are, and you're perfectly fine with everything that has happened. That's your ultimate freedom. But for that to happen, 20 years. A call is a disturbance. A call is always a disturbance because this is where your life is going. It's going this direction. A call looks at it and says, go this way. Or maybe not this way. A call basically says, where are you going? Stop. Why? You may stop, but you still have your past intact with you. They mean something. Then all of a sudden, you say, with the call comes a search because you want to figure out why you're getting this call in the first place. I don't know if you've ever had like friends that you haven't spoken to for like decades, depending on your age, like 50 years, all of a sudden you hear from them. When I had my open heart surgery a couple months ago, I had good friends while I was going to school, for a decade or so. We were all immigrants all from Iran. We were all roommates. And then we lost touch, thank God. And then my brother told them that I had my, heart opened. And then they called me. I didn't reply. I didn't care for their call. I didn't care for what they had to say. But when you get a call, there is a good amount of care inside you. Let me just do it this way. Leo Tolstoy was a Russian novelist, very rich, very prosperous, very talented. At some point, at the age of like 15 or 16, he said, what's the difference between me and my servants? The difference is only money. But we both bleed, and when we are tickled, we both laugh, and when we are cut, we both bleed. What's the difference? Now, that's a call, but it's a dangerous call, which means that he has to go against the wishes of his parents, he has to give his money away, his power away. He pushes the call away with all the questions that it comes up with. And he forgets, he goes back to his life. At the age of 20, the call comes back again. What are you doing? There is no difference between you and the serfs. Don't be so arrogant. Don't be so pompous. Don't be an ass. It's too much to give up the power that he had. He pushes the questions away again. At the age of 40 or 50, he could no longer do it. The call comes forth with a tremendous intensity and power, and he goes and lives with his servants. The spiritual call, and I'm guessing, you have a physical life. Wherever you place your body, that physical space creates emotions. You come to this class, I say a couple of things, you feel something, your brain begins to move, you raise your hand and you ask a question. That's what physical spaces do. They create emotions and they create thoughts. You have your own set of friends. You have your own passions in life given to you by whatever. So you have a physical life. That physical life creates emotions, creates thoughts. You also have your own personal experiences. You have a rich past. And because of imagination, you have a rich future. Imagination. You have past and future. They're valuable for you. They're your GPS to life. The spiritual life, should it happen, it has nothing to do with your body or the emotions or the intellect. The riches of the past or the riches of imaginations that live in the future. It means nothing. Now, if you have known yourself within the container of physical, emotional, intellectual, past and future, pleasure and pain principle, according to the physical, emotional, and intellectual, and that's who you are. Should the spiritual comes forth, it says, none of those things mean anything. But who do you become? What are you? What physical space do you occupy? What sort of emotions do you really want? There are moments you grow tired of certain emotions. In other words, if I hang out with this guy and if him and I have been friends, and I love his jokes, every time he tells me a joke, I have a belly laugh. All of a sudden I get to a stage where we still occupy the same physical space, he still tells me the joke, but instead of the emotion of pleasure, it's painful, it's disgusting, it's boring, it's stupid. I'm no longer 10. And all of a sudden I realize that it is true we've been friends for 10 years, but I no longer care for that history. And I no longer care for that story. I walk away. Imagine now, you're talking about Plato's allegory of the cave. You no longer care about anything in the cave, nothing in the physical world. You're simply looking for the sun, whatever that may mean for you. That's devastating. I mean, I know that Westerners or even Easterners now like to throw these words around, but the consequences, should you gravitate towards these things, it's enormous. It's too much.